Hi, in this video we will see how do we create a voice bot using Dialogflow. In Dialogflow, voice bot is named as a agent. So when you create a, GCP account and you using your GCP account, when you log in you in Dialogflow, you will have the one agent associated to your GCP account. So in my case, let's say room reservation is my project which I have created, which is associated to my GCP account. My project ID which is created here is this Cisco SS Dev 9GKV, and this is the project ID we will be referring everywhere when we connect it to our studio and CVP integration. So once we have this project ID, if we go to the main menu, we see different line items. We will go through them one by one to create a small voice bot. So you can see the intents are lined up here. I have created a few intents. Intents is in general terms are the intents for which you are designing the voice bot. Let's say transfer the money is the intent here, renting a car is the intent. So like that you can create any intent, and for that intent, if you create that, then there are some associated parameters which you have to define. So in my case, I have added multiple parameters for renting the car, and for that you have to provide the training. How would the customer speak that particular text? So let's say in my case I have given this text where I want to rent a sedan car from Friday 2 o'clock from Bangalore for 4 people. So it has given multiple parameters here. You can see that car type is given, date is given which is associated to this date, time is given, location is given, and how many people is that number. So number is given. So some of the parameters which you can see here are system parameter like sysdate, systime, syslocation, sysnumber, and some are custom parameters like car type. We will go through that how this is mapped, and then finally once you do multiple training, so let's say you can add more training phrases here. I want to book a car. So here you have not given any parameter other than so it has tried to associate itself with a wrong entity which I don't want, so you can remove it that you're not interested in that. I will remove it. So now here you are not given any parameter, and then if these are not there, then you will be asking those parameter during the IVR. So like that you have associated the parameter, and let's go through this another parameter, entities. So okay, once you do that you have to save it, and your intent is saved, and the Dialogflow engine will process this intent. Now at the same time, if you want to create a custom entity like we did for the car type, you can create a new custom entity, and you can create the car type, and then let's say for this you want to add multiple list in this, and if you have multiple synonym, you can add multiple synonym for one particular entity as well. If you, let's say sedan is spoken in different ways, you can have all those things listed here in this row. So now that you have your intent created and entities added into this, one more important thing is the parameter called required. In the last video of the architecture, we saw two flows. One is the Dialogflow flow, and one is the Dialogflow intent and Dialogflow param element. So if you are using the Dialogflow root element, then you need to enable all these parameters so that the control of variable selection stays with Dialogflow, and Dialogflow asks for all these parameters. And if you are using the Dialogflow intent and the param combination, then you should not check them up, because you are controlling them from your from your Call Studio application. So like this, you can define different intents, and then you can have multiple sequencing of the intents also. You can go through a little bit more about these in the documentation of Dialogflow. uh, Once you have your intents defined, and if you want to test them out without doing the whole setup, what you can do is you can just write them up here, and your intent will be identified. So your intent is car rent, and the context is created for that, and it is, if let's say some of the parameter is not available in your query, Dialogflow will control, and it will ask the question based on what prompt you have defined for each question. So you can define the prompts here. Let's say you want to ask time. So when do you need it? And when you save it, when it is asking for the time value, the same prompt will be asked by Dialogflow. So this is the simple way of creating a Dialogflow agent. While integrating this with the Call Studio, you should be taking care of some of the important things that I will highlight here. Uh, you should be knowing the project ID. This is the project ID you will be referring to in your Dialogflow elements in Call Studio. This should be the exact name, and by going through the service account, you can download the key uh, which will be pushed to the configuration, and using that you can authenticate from your key, and your relevant account will be built for that. So by going into this, you can download the relevant key, and by providing the relevant permissions. Another thing what you need to do is you need to be moved to the Enterprise Essential account. There is a, by default, when you create an account, you are on a standard account. uh, Enterprise Essential provides you some premium features, and which are required for you to get the better quality of the recognition. Another thing which you need to do is enable the data logging. And if you enable data logging, and if you have the essential, your recognition quality for the Dialogflow improves drastically. But there is a catch in this, that if you enable this data logging, Google will use your input data for their training purposes. So if you are sensitive about those, you can avoid this. But you should be using the Enterprise Essential for getting the better recognition model. And that is for by default, when you use a application of Call Studio, this is a mandatory requirement. You can customize the model if you want. If you don't want essential, if you want standard, you can customize the data model by having a look at the element specification guide. The details are mentioned there.